Hi guys, as you can see behind me the game sign is up, which means I'm doing something with games or another game review, and this time it's something I got from a charity shop. It's this little thing here, which is a card for the Game Boy Advance, and it says on it 369 in 1. Now, sorry about the mask. I've just had some stitches put into my lip, or the inside of my lip. It's not that it doesn't look very nice, you can't see anything, but it does make my mouth look a bit weird. So I thought I'd cover up for the moment for this review, unfortunately. So sorry about that, but let's get on with, well, is this thing that I bought really cheap from a charity shop any good? Now, until I saw it in the charity shop, I didn't even know it existed. Apparently, I've seen around now online that it's been around for a few years. In fact, quite a few years. There's quite a few places that have been selling it on Amazon and eBay and places like that. So it's been around for a while. There's been other reviews, and I'll link some of the reviews below in my link section, because there's also people telling you what it does and doesn't do. Because it says it claims 369 games for the Game Boy Advance. What a load of hosh! It isn't. It's definitely not 369. But is it any good? Is it alright? Well, I'll let you know. After the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Pocket came the Game Boy Advance, and this was a great console. It was a 32-bit console, which was quite big at the time, considering that the PlayStation was a 32-bit console as well. So it was a decent console with decent graphics, and in its name it was Advance. And the Game Boy Advance always came with cartridges that looked like this. Now, I don't have a Game Boy Advance to test this on. Luckily, I do have a Nintendo DS Lite. And the DS, the first DS, and then the DS Lite DSi's, came with a removable slot at the front where, pull this out, and you can put in game cartridges. Like so. And then you can play your games on your DS with the top screen. So you're not getting the bottom screen that you'd normally get on DS, but you do get the top screen showing you your games, which is quite cool. Unfortunately, the later DSs, like the 3DS, the 2DS that came after that, they took away this slot for the Game Boy Advance, so you couldn't play Game Boy Advance games on them. Now, there are other ways of playing Game Boy Advance games, but I'll get to that in another review, which I'm doing shortly for something completely different, but is not handheld. The advantage of this cartridge and a DS or a Game Boy Advance is handheld, and you can walk around with it. And the thing is, nowadays, you can buy Game Boy Advances online, on eBay, places like that, for anything between 40 to 80 quid. For some reason, at the moment, the DSs are a little bit dearer, so you can still get DSs, but again, they're sort of 80 to 100 pounds. But you can get consoles like this to play games on, and if you've already got one, you've got a Game Boy Advance hidden away somewhere, or you've already got a DSi, or DS, then this cartridge will work with it. But, and there's a big but, it says 369 games in one. It's a complete and utter lie. It's a complete load of old bull. So there are Game Boy Advance games on here. There's about 20, just under. And they're all right. I mean, there's games like Pokemon. There's Mario games. A handful of Mario Advance. They're specifically designed for the Advance. There's MotoGP. There's Spider-Man. There's games that you can see are designed specifically for the Advance. When you load them, you can see the graphics are much, much better than they are Advance games.
Here we go! Super Mario!
But it doesn't take you long to go across the menu. So the second page of the menu, you go down to Super Contra, which I think is Super Contra 2014, something like that. And it actually loads as a very old NES game. An 8-bit, pretty naff NES game. The game quality is worse than you get on the Game Boy. And the Game Boy was black and white. And it still had much better graphics than these 8-bit horrible NES games. The same NES games that are in this scene that I reviewed a little while ago, where you have 400 odd games, and again, they're all NAF, NES, or homebrew games. Games like Mission Impossible, you go on Mission Impossible and you think that's a great Mission Impossible game, and it's an old NES game from 1990. It's awful. So there are some terrible games on it. Well, 350 terrible games and about 20 decent Game Boy Advance games. The downside, as always, is with these things you can't save. So when you are playing this, there's no reset or manual option to get back out of the game. So you're playing a game, you think to yourself, right, want to play a different game. There's no option other than to turn the unit off and switch it back on again. That reloads the menu, which is a very similar menu to the menu on the handheld console and on my Mega Drive cartridge. When you reload it, you can't start from where you left off because you switched the unit off in the meantime. So basically, you're playing these games for fun. You're not doing campaigns or story modes because you can't. You can't carry on where you were. You've got to play it all the way through, which is why I would only say this thing is a bit of fun. It's definitely not a decent retro cartridge in any way, and it definitely isn't what they say it is. Having said that, if you get it for £5, say, and you've got a Game Boy Advance at home, or as I said, a DS, then there's a handful of games, 20 odd games for a £5, probably not bad. It's alright to have a bit of fun with and a bit of a play with, but you won't be playing with it for very long. Conclusion for this one is it's not worth the money. It's alright, it's fun, you can play a couple of games, even if you play Mario Kart. Mario Kart's a great game to play on any format, so you can sit and play Mario Kart for a while. The downside to this Mario Kart, it isn't as good. If you've got a DS and you've got DS Mario Kart on the DS is so much better, and it allows for Wi-Fi so you can play against other people on the DS version. So if you've got a DS, I wouldn't bother with this, I'd get maybe an R4 card. The R4 cards have been around for donkey's years. You can still get these on Amazon at the moment, and you can play your Mario games, including Mario Kart, which is a much better version of Mario Kart than the one on this cartridge. But if you've only got a Game Boy Advance, you might as well get this for the Mario Kart or the Mario games or even the Pokemon games. As long as it's cheap,